Alright everyone, welcome back to episode 12 of the Forza Horizon 1 Let's Play. It's been about a week since the last episode, and we are here to kick it off, finish off the purple wristband, and finally unlock our gold wristband. We are getting so close to finishing this game. Now today's episode, I got a few more stories from the shop, some general automotive news, and some good stuff, so be sure to stay tuned as I got some cool stuff to show you guys. Alright, so we're starting off this episode with a Japanese car race, and we got some Japanese car news. So, starting off, we have a lot of really cool Japanese cars that are going to be showed off in this month of August. So let's start looking at some of them. First off is the all-new Acura NSX Type S. This came from absolutely out of nowhere, and I gotta say, I don't think anyone was expecting this because Acura of late has been doing some pretty decent stuff. You know, they have a new TLX, the SUVs have been good, and the NSX has just kind of been vibing there in existing, but you know, they're not selling a ton of them. And then all of a sudden, they have the TLX Type S, and they're recently going to be revealing the MDX Type S, which is their SUV. And then they show off this teaser the other day of the NSX Type S. I gotta say, now I am actually one of the few people who likes the modern NSX. I don't like it as much as the original, but I still think that it's a decent car. It's way too expensive for what it is. And while technically impressive, it just doesn't have that same passion and feel to it that the old one had. The new one is so computerized and electronic that yes, it's technically impressive, but it's just not the same. But the Type S version, I'm really hoping will be able to capture some of that old school, just raw driving experience. It's still going to be using the same powertrain, the twin turbo V6 hybrid setup and all-wheel drive, but it's going to have more horsepower. They haven't quite revealed the full specifications yet, but they will be doing that in, I believe it's just around 2 weeks. So it will definitely be interesting to see that. Now next up, we have the Nissan 400Z, or at least that's what it's rumored to be called, which will be fully revealed on August 17th. So again, just around a week or two for that one, and man, I am super excited to see what the production version of the 400Z looks like. Unfortunately, it kind of got leaked maybe a few months ago. If I can find the pictures, I'll throw them up on the screen here, and pray that I don't get sued by Nissan. But yeah, it was leaked, and I gotta say, man, this car looks so good. The 300ZX inspired taillights in the rear, and just all of the throwbacks throughout the Z car's lineage is truly just amazing in the design. I cannot wait to see the production 400Z fully revealed, no leaks, on August 17th. Finally, moving on to Subaru, we have the 2022 WRX, which again is also, like the first two cars, gonna be revealed mid-August. And we had a teaser video showing off some interesting things about the car. We know it's going to be focused on performance still, as the WRX always has been, but there are some slight concerns because of the teaser that Subaru posted on their social media. The car seemed to have a lot of this plastic body cladding on the side, and it looks like it might be going towards like a crossover design almost. Now I'm hoping that all this plastic body cladding and all that will be kind of for an optional package or something. I really hope that this isn't just the new WRX in general. It's going to be almost like a lowered Subaru Crosstrek. But yeah, I do have a feeling that this is actually the case, that it is just an optional trim package that makes the WRX feel a little more rugged and maybe more off-road capable than before, which is a little weird. But again, I'm hoping that's the case and that this isn't the standard for all WRXs in the future. But this one will be revealed on August 19th, so again, not too long to wait and see. I think it might be time for us to buy our first, like, proper new supercar here. And the 12C might just be one of our best options. Alright, so continuing what I started in the last episode, because I think you guys tend to kind of like these stories from the shop. So this next story is from a previous shop that I worked at. Not the one I work at currently, but it's a funny one nonetheless. So we had just a simple rear brake job on I believe it was a Toyota Sienna? Maybe it was a Sienna? Something like that, one of their vans. And during the rear brakes, you normally have to adjust the parking brake because, as cars age and the parking brake gets used a lot and they normally become a little loose, you gotta adjust it. So, we adjusted the rear parking brake as you should and set the car on the way. Test drove it, everything's all good. The customer came and picked up the car, everything's going great until we see in about a few days the same van is back. Now, we are all really confused by this because, test drove the car, everything's normal, but, why is it back? So the customer complaint was that the car just wasn't moving right, almost like the brakes were sticking. So we went, road tested it, and found out that nothing was abnormal. Car drove perfectly fantastic. But of course, just road testing it isn't enough. Put it up on the hoist, took the wheels off, and didn't necessarily notice anything strange. The new parking brake pads were a little worn, a little more than usual, but nothing too crazy. I believe the customer chose to buy some pretty budget-friendly stuff, so it wasn't necessarily out of the ordinary for that stuff to be wearing out that quickly. But put everything back together, sent the car on the way again, road tested again just to make sure, and again, nothing wrong with the car. Car's all good. And again, a few days later, the same van shows up with the same complaint. Brakes seem to be sticking. This time, the customer mentioned that when we dropped the car off to them last, there was a little red light in the dashboard. We went and, just looked at the red light and we said, hey, yeah, this is your parking brake light. It became immediately clear to us what happened when the customer said, what's a parking brake? Now, to give you guys some context, when we park vehicles, we put the parking brake on, as you do. So whenever we drop the vehicle off after doing the work, we put the parking brake on, of course. The customer, not knowing what a parking brake was, just chose to drive the vehicle with the parking brake on. So this meant that whenever they would bring it back for us to test it, I would, get in the car, release the parking brake, and go for a test drive, as you normally do. This obviously meant that we never noticed anything wrong, because we disengaged the parking brake before driving it. And then, of course, once we noticed that nothing was really wrong, park it, put the parking brake on. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, like, how could you not know what a parking brake is and then when the parking brake is on? I gotta tell you guys, it's really shocking to know. It's a lot to do with Canada and how freely we give our licenses out. The driving tests in Canada are really not that hard. You don't need to know that much about vehicles and driving in general. You just basically have to perform a knowledge test of road signs and how basic traffic functions work. So a lot of people who, let's say, aren't into cars and just need a driver's license just to get around town, get groceries, get to work, aren't super educated on the vehicle. And especially with a car with the parking brake on the floor, on the left-hand side by the pedals, like a Sienna would have, some people just really don't know what a parking brake is, honestly. It's really shocking to me, and, hearing friends from other countries talk about how strict their driver licensing is, and, how much people know about cars compared to here. Man, I wish we were another country. But seriously, it would save a lot of incidents like this happening in the future if people were just a little more educated on their cars and how they worked. Anyway, so moving on from that, I'm gonna do another story a little later on in the episode, but for now I just want to talk about some channel stuff. So this is kind of a double-edged sword. So the channel right now has been doing pretty good but compared to previous months, we have not been doing as good. We've been doing really good in terms of subscribers and, subscribers watching content. But in terms of, inviting new people into the channel, there hasn't been that much. YouTube normally does this every month, has an interesting cycle where it'll be about 3 weeks of dead, pretty average just views on the channel. And then maybe for a week or two, it'll go absolutely bananas and start recommending content like crazy. Right now, it's been about a month of pretty average, just chill stuff. So I'm expecting at some point, probably going to start promoting videos again, which of course, I'm not going to complain about. But for right now, the channel's been pretty steady, just relaxed. And in all honesty, I'm kind of liking it because it allows me to kind of just focus on keeping everything cool and being able to interact more with everyone, because when I'm getting into those areas where YouTube started promoting stuff like crazy, there's just no way I can't keep up with everyone. So when it's a little slower, it's kind of nice to just be able to interact and comment with everyone. It's really quite nice.
No way you beat me to that wristband. I do this for a living. Let's go again. Just you and me.
I really want that Saleen S7, so let's do this. But first, I'm going to need to upgrade the McLaren because we are not in R3 yet. So now that we actually have the gold wristband, we are just going to compete for the entrance into the finale. This is crazy. We are so close to being done this series, and it kind of leaves me thinking about what to do next. Of course, I'm thinking of doing another Let's Play in the future, but that was almost really bad. Yeah, so what I was going to say there was, of course, another Let's Play is in the plans, and I'm thinking of doing one for sure. But in the meantime, once this series is done, I'm going to take a little break from doing a Let's Play, maybe for a couple weeks, and try something new. Now, I'm not going to spoil what this is yet, but trust me, I have a feeling that you guys are going to like this idea for a short little series that I have. Now, this series idea is something that I would probably start a little after this Let's Play is done, but it's going to be, again, it's something different. I'm not going to say anything about it yet. I have some really good ideas for it, and I'm not going to say anything just yet, so you're going to have to wait and see. Okay, so after that, let's tell you story number 2. So, this next story, this is an interesting one, and kind of a little lesson at the end here. So, this story, so let me start off. So this was another, one of the other guys I worked with, this was his job, so I was just kind of like watching from the sidelines as I was working on other stuff. So it was, I think it was a Jeep Cherokee. It was like a 90s Jeep Cherokee. And it was just, again, just came in for brake pads and rotors in the front, not a big deal, just, normal job. We noticed that, the calipers, the brake calipers in the car did look like they needed some replacement. They weren't compressing easily, and they just really weren't in great shape. I think they were even leaking. So we added calipers onto the work order, customer okayed it, so we're all like, awesome, great, we'll get the calipers done, and, should go good as normal.
Here's the keys. Do me a favor. Let's keep this between ourselves, huh?
Man, she's really upset. But hey, at least I got the Saleen. Okay, so yeah, so finishing the story. So continued, when the other guy was, doing the calipers, when you replace brake calipers, you have to bleed the brake system. And bleeding the brake system is just, getting all the air out of it. And when you put new calipers in, there's going to be a tiny little bit of air that seeps in when you open up the bleeder holes and all of that. So the other technician was, he was just working on trying to bleed the brakes. He was actually bleeding the brakes on a day that I wasn't there, so I'm just kind of going off of memory. But I came back and he said that, the Jeep, they just couldn't get the brakes to bleed properly, and he couldn't build brake pressure no matter what happened. So I believe he ended up figuring out that it was either the brake master cylinder, the brake booster, that was going wrong, and he replaced that. And even after replacing this, for some reason the car just wouldn't build brake pressure in the slightest. So, you know, again, I'm not necessarily working on the car, I'm just in the background, you know, listening to what's going on. But the customer ended up taking it to a different shop just to get something else done. But while it was at the other shop, they noticed that, hey, the new brake calipers were put on the wrong sides of the vehicle. Now, for those of you that don't know, brake calipers have a little bleeder screw which is at the top of it. Now, obviously air bleeds through the top. It doesn't go downwards. You have to bleed the system from the bottom up. Now, when our guy bled the system, he accidentally, you know, it's a small mistake, but these things happen, and he ended up mixing up the top and bottom screws, and yeah, that just meant that the air just couldn't get out of the system. So again, I'm working on another car the other side of the shop, and just hearing all this, while at the same time it's kind of funny to hear, you know, you made a little mistake. It's just kind of, these things happen, and it's kind of a lesson to just like step back. If you can't figure something out, just step back and look at things from a much simpler perspective. Look at it from a much more basic point of view.
Amazing work. This gold wristband means you're one of the festival's elite. Keep it up, and you're a certainty for the Horizon Finals.
Damn, 3,590 points to get to the final. Ooh, this is going to be a lot of work, and probably still have another 2 episodes, maybe even 3 to go. But, man, I'm going to do one more for this episode.
Turn left.
Alright, so we're just on the way. Hey, wait. What does that say? Our game cartridge is edible? Yes, yes, game cartridges are edible, of course.
Okay, kid. You've had your 15 minutes of fame. All eyes are now back on the real celebrity.
Oh, really? Well, Mr. Darius Flint, I have a challenger for you. So the next thing I was going to bring up in this episode was kind of a question for you all. So I'm curious to see how many of you all watch Formula One. I've been intensely watching from around mid-2017. I would tune in for the occasional race a little before then, but like hardcore, haven't missed a race, would be like mid-2017. I bring this up because of now we are in the F1 summer break, and man, did we have an incredible race to finish off before the summer break last week. For those of you that don't watch F1, man, if you are looking to kind of see what it's all about and get interested, there's a few races I would recommend checking out. First off, if you're looking to look at some of the more modern stuff, I would definitely suggest watching Germany 2019. That was a hell of an interesting, chaotic race, and you know, if you like that one, try Germany 2018 as well. It was a really good one. And for those in the comments, please suggest, some of your favorite races for newcomers to F1 who just kind of want to check it out and see what it's all about. I know Canada 2011 is going to be a popular one among those. I mean, one of which was the Hungarian Grand Prix just this last weekend. Crazy, just ridiculous stuff, from an intense start with chaos and rain to, championship drama to, team drama, and just some of the most ridiculous stuff, and including like never before seen stuff, like the only one F1 car on the grid at the safety car restart. I mean, just ridiculous stuff like this, which is just, I mean, I love stuff like this. I love chaotic, crazy races, and that was definitely a chaotic race. Now, before I finish off here, I just want to ask you guys another question. So, told you 2 shop stories in this episode, told you 1 in the last one. I just want to know if you guys are continuing to like these stories, or if you want me to just, maybe not tell them. I got some pretty good response from most of you guys in the last episode, so I just want to double check, make sure you guys are still interested in hearing them. Alright, our first race in the Gold Wristband Championship. Man, it's going to be a long time till we get there, but I have a feeling we can do it. Alright, so I think that's going to end it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please consider leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And yeah guys, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and let me know if you're continuing to enjoy the series. And for now, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care, guys.